This stupid LED just will not blink. It's a 555 circuit and I've checked the schematic multiple times. So what do we do when we have a circuit that doesn't work? We have to troubleshoot. And to troubleshoot, we need test equipment. We need things like a multimeter, an oscilloscope, and a power supply. Or we need this box, which is 6 instruments in one. It even comes with an iPad app. In this episode of AddOhms, we're going to take a look at the VirtualBench from National Instruments. The entire VirtualBench measures 10 inches by 7.5 inches by 2.9 inches, which makes it pretty compact. It connects to your PC by USB or Wi-Fi. You can also use the Wi-Fi to connect to an Apple iPad. More on that later. There are 5 measurement tools built into the VirtualBench: oscilloscope, function generator, digital multimeter, and a power supply. The 6th tool is 8 general-purpose I/O pins. The power supply is a triple output with 2 positive supplies and a negative supply. The negative supply goes down to negative 25 volts and provides up to 500 milliamps. Its complement goes up to positive 25 volts with 500 milliamps. And the 1 amp supply can provide up to 6 volts. All of these supplies provide the ability to limit current. The digital multimeter has 5.5 digits of resolution and includes measurements like DC voltage, DC current, AC voltage, AC current, diodes, resistance, and continuity testing. If you're using the iPad, it even beeps. One thing to note is that, like most multimeters, the VirtualBench can do only one of these measurements at a time. Moving on to the function generator, it has a fundamental sine wave of 20 MHz, which can also be used to create a 5 MHz square wave, along with ramps, triangles, and DC. To be honest, I rarely use function generators except when teaching about oscilloscopes. So let's talk about the scope, which I think is the marquee function of the VirtualBench. The analog bandwidth is 100 MHz and can sample up to 500 million samples per second on both channels, or 1 billion samples on a single channel. This is 5 to 10 times oversampling and is more than sufficient for 100 MHz measurements. I keep saying oscilloscope, but I really need to call this a mixed signal oscilloscope, or MSO for short. So what's that mean? Well, in addition to the 2 analog channels, there are 32 digital channels. In theory, you can measure up to 34 signals with this one device. There's a lot of different ways to use an MSO, but we're going to have to save that for a future video. Lastly, I did want to mention that there are some GPIO pins on the VirtualBench. These 8 pins will most likely be used to control whatever you are troubleshooting. For example, you might use an I/O pin to reset a microcontroller. Definitely a nice feature to have. The VirtualBench comes with Windows software built into the device. Plug it in, a drive appears on your PC, install it, and you're good to go. You can also use the iPad app, which I really like. You can use your finger to move the waveform around, and it creates a compact measurement system. There's even a feature to use the accelerometer to take screenshots. Alright, coming back to my 555 circuit, we can see now we've got the VirtualBench providing power to the circuit, and that the LED is on solid. Or is it? Let's go take a look at the scope to see what it shows us. Now with the scope, we can see that the LED is going from off to on, so it actually is flashing. But we need to take a look at the frequency to get more information. So at the frequency measurement, we can see that it is actually flashing around 680 Hz, which means it's flashing too fast for our human eyes to see. If you're limited on bench space, or you don't have much test equipment, for just under $2,000, you can get an entire lab's worth of equipment in a single box. For more information on the VirtualBench, check out my full review at baldengineer.com/virtualbench. If you have questions, feel free to leave a comment with this video. You can always find us around the internet with the keyword AddOhms. For show notes on this video, check out AddOhms.com/EP14.